Welcome to today's module, Setting Target Outcomes. As the saying goes, with a plan you can. The source of this information in this module comes primarily out of our required textbook by Wade Gilbert, Coaching Better Every Season, a year-round system for athletic development and program success, as well as our optional textbook by Warrenburg and Gould, Foundations of Sport and Exercise Psychology, 7th edition. Setting targets, commonly referred to as goal setting, represents a fundamental coaching responsibility. It's difficult to imagine coaching a sport without first identifying some desired results and outcomes that you want, and then charting a path to achieve it. Goals matter because they provide direction and focus for you and your athletes. However, if you have an overemphasis on achieving competitive goals or outcome goals, it could inadvertently lead to unethical behavior, lowered athlete motivation, or even just simply not being able to achieve the goals that you want because you're not focusing on the process and performance goals, which are way more important in task mastery. So perhaps then the most valuable aspect of goals is that they provide daily reminders of the type of effort and focus that we require to become better. In this module, we will explore several facets of setting target outcomes. And our learning objectives for this module are that we can discuss the process of setting target outcomes and target conditions, explain the importance of a clear, compelling vision, describe the importance and strategies to developing pillars of success, as well as discuss goal-setting research and evidence-based goal-setting strategies. At the beginning of every season, we need to be able to plan our journey and share a vision, set target outcomes and target conditions, define our pillars of success that will drive our behavior, set our goals using evidence-based strategies, and then measure your progress so you can close the gap between what is today and what is possible if we do the things that we need to do in order to achieve our outcomes. So simply stated, there's a process of setting target outcomes. This includes defining a clear vision, identifying those target outcomes and target conditions, and then setting a multi-goal strategy, putting in place a plan that will help us achieve the goals of the team. So how do we define a clear vision? Well, first we have to discuss what is possible. And we need to discuss that in a clear and compelling way. This will provide the fuel needed to achieve your goals, and as you continue down your journey, this will be your constant reminder of what it is the team is looking to achieve. It gives you purpose to the journey, and this vision needs to answer the question, why do we want to go there? Why do we want to go and achieve whatever the team decides? So within the vision, it's important that you share this prior to setting goals, because when we know our final destination, we can then set the goals to help us achieve that. So what are target outcomes and target conditions? How do we set them? Well, let's make a little sense of it all. So when you discuss target outcomes, really what you're doing is discussing the purpose of the journey and your outcome goals, right? Now, these goals should not be the primary focus of your journey. However, it's imperative that you have an outcome of where you want to go. You want to aim for something, and that's what that term target should elicit, is the idea of aiming for something. So you can measure if you are on target or off target as you discuss and plan your target conditions. Now, your target conditions are defined by your process and performance goals. These are your step-by-step things that you need to do on a daily basis, a weekly basis, a monthly or seasonal basis in order to achieve your outcomes. That being said, you also need to define your behavioral guidelines by setting up pillars of success. These are also included in your target conditions because these help you stay focused, can help you be held accountable for your behaviors and actions that are required by both the individual and the team in order to have a successful journey. So as mentioned, part of setting target conditions is defining your pillars of success. What are pillars of success? Well, you've all read through John Wooden's Pyramid of Success, and those stand as a reminder of the things that are needed in order to achieve that peace of mind, knowing that you did everything you can to be the best that you can be in his way of defining success. And so when we define our pillars of success, it's important that we think about the ways that we need to behave, or the ways we need to be in order to be successful. This is done. We should definitely use a group setting for this. And a common way of doing this is having your players write down the 10 most common characteristics they feel are needed to help achieve target outcomes. Right? Then these need to be discussed amongst the team, and then the team needs to choose the ones that everyone can wholeheartedly accept. And these pillars of success then will drive the focus and accountability of behavior, both in practice, on the court, off the court, in the classroom, for student athletes, and then on the competitive field as well. In addition to defining our pillars of success, it's very critical that when we set target outcomes and conditions, that we also set goals. Now, we have the outcome goals, which is our target outcome, and that's one part of the goals. But really, there's another set of goals, which is part of the target conditions, which is our step-by-step process and performance goals that need to be set as well. So in your prep and planning stage, when you're talking with your team and you're trying to get a sense of why they want to go where they're going to go and how they're going to get there and some of the goals they want to set, that's part of the prep and planning. Then we need to help them and educate them on proper goal-setting strategies and the research behind goal-setting strategies, so that way when they acquire the skills of setting and using these strategies, that as they implement them, they will have greater chance of success in achieving their goal outcomes. And so in the implementation stage, it's imperative that we follow up and that we evaluate with each one individually and as a team, and continue to assess ourselves on a daily and weekly basis to make sure we are on track to hit our target. Research indicates that one of the keys to goal setting is to set a multi-goal strategy. This means that we need to set not only outcome goals, but we need to have more task mastery goals and setting process goals. And then we need to be able to build self-efficacy and feel that we are increasing our perceived ability by setting performance goals, which are goals that we are going to set that are our own set standard of excellence. And it's not compared to what others may perceive as being excellent, but it's what we perceive as being excellent. So performance goals are our own set standard of excellence. Process goals are the actions that need to be taken in order to achieve the outcome goal, which the outcome goal is simply the result, or in our case, our target outcome. And when setting any of these goals, it's critical that we understand the difference between a subjective goal and an objective goal. Objective goals focus on attaining a specific standard of proficiency on a task, usually within a specific time. Now, that is in contrast to subjective goals, because these are general statements of intent, like, oh, I want to do well, or I want to feel better, I want to have fun. And they're not necessarily measurable, and they're not necessarily timed. A few of the strategies regularly discussed in research are the SMARTS goal setting strategy and goal mapping. So before we get into the specifics of the strategies, let's talk a little bit about what the research says about goal setting. Well, first and foremost, it states that goals need to be specific. If they're vague, they are less likely to be achieved. They also need to be moderately difficult. Too difficult of a goal, you'll lose motivation because you don't see that your efforts are enabling you to get to that end or the outcome that you want. Too easy of a goal, well, you lose motivation because it was too easy and you accomplished it too quickly. So research indicates it's necessary that we set moderately difficult goals. We should also set short and long-term goals. This goes into our multi-goal strategies of setting not just short-term goals and not just long-term goals, but setting goals that both have a short-term aspect and a long-term aspect to them. Also, it's important that we record our goals, that we assess and measure them, because that is the only way we're going to be able to have critical analysis and be able to evaluate if our strategies are working. And if they're not working, then we can adjust and then reevaluate later on down the line. Lastly, it's critical that we develop goal achievement strategies. And we'll discuss specifically how to do that when we discuss goal mapping. Many of you are probably familiar with the SMART goal setting strategy. Now this one has SMARTs and adds an S at the end. And oftentimes some of these words within the SMARTs are interchangeable with other words. So just to keep it clear, for our module and our learning about psychology of coaching, we're going to use SMARTs to mean specific, measurable, achievable, related, timed, and self-determined. Now, specific goals just indicate precisely what is to be accomplished or achieved. Measurable goals, they need to be quantifiable. They need to be achievable, as mentioned earlier in goal-setting research. They need to be moderately difficult, yet achievable. As the word related, what that term refers to is that they need to be related to the target outcome. So they may be related to your target conditions, they may be related to your pillars of success, or they may be related to your performance and process goals. Also, they need to be timed. This is imperative. You can't have an open-ended goal. Any goal you set should be achievable within a reasonable amount of time. And again, you're going to set short-term goals and long-term goals, but set a beginning and end date and evaluate and adjust as needed when you reach those end dates. Lastly, self-determined goals. The research indicates that it's imperative that goals are self-determined and not set for other people. This will improve and increase intrinsic motivation when working toward achieving those goals. It also helps when you get input from the participants, because that also leads to an increase in autonomy, or the feeling of autonomy or choice, again, allowing for the increase in intrinsic motivation and in goal achievement. So by beginning with the SMARTS method and setting a specific, measurable, achievable, related, timed, self-determined goal, then you can sit down and reflect on the start, stop, continue method. Now the start, stop, continue method helps us define and evaluate what we need to start doing to achieve our goal, what we need to stop doing to achieve our goal, and what we need to continue doing to achieve our goal. So when we look at what we need to start doing, this is usually the group is not doing something that they think they should be. It may be they need to hold more true to a pillar of success, one of their core values. Maybe actually doing something on a process or performance goal to reach their outcome. So we need to look at that. We need to look at what we need to start doing. When we look at what we need to stop doing, this is usually some maladaptive behavior or things that are distracting us from our goal achievement. So something's not working for the team, you're not having the desired outcomes, you may have to, you may have proved to be impractical or unrealistic goal. So those are the kind of things that we have to look at and change as needed. But so we need to stop doing something to achieve our SMARTS goal. Lastly, we need to continue doing something. Hopefully you're doing something well as a team and you want to keep doing that. The team likes and thinks they're being successful in one aspect, and so that is definitely something you want to feed into the goal setting process. Another aspect of the multi-goal strategy would be goal mapping. So you've set your SMARTS goal, you've identified what you need to start, stop, and continue to give yourself a great opportunity to achieve your outcome. Now you're going to map it. Just like in a road trip, you have a starting point and you have an end destination. Along the way, you're going to reach milestones. You're going to get a quarter of the way there, then half the way there, then 3/4 of the way there, and then you're finally going to reach your destination. But along that journey, you are also more than likely going to run into some obstacles and some challenges. On a road trip, you run into traffic, road closure, weather, you name it. There's all sorts of challenges out there, but you need to have a strategy to overcome those challenges. And just like any road trip and any journey, it takes a lot of endurance. And what that means is we're going to get exhausted. We're going to have times when we're not feeling our best. We need to be able to have a way to talk to ourselves and talk to our teammates that will enable us to improve our motivation, improve our energy, improve our effort, improve our attitude, and improve our response to adversity so that we can make it all the way to our end result. And that can all happen when we have strategies, right? So when we look at goal mapping, what we're actually looking at is we're looking at the 5 elements of our purpose, which is our why, your reason for being. What is your target outcome, right? Our milestones, which are our gauge of progress. And these generally will be our performance and process goals. So these are part of our target conditions, right? Then you're going to have your challenges that you're going to have to overcome obstacles with. And again, we need to have strategies to overcome these obstacles. It's these obstacles that will hinder us from even reaching our milestones. So it's important that when we're setting our goal achievement strategy, that we consider the obstacles that we're going to face, have a plan, because with a plan you can. All right, again, like mentioned, the journey is going to be arduous. We're going to have times when we're not feeling great about ourselves or about our teammates or about, just about anything because we're exhausted. And that's when we need to have focus statements. A key element of the goal map is our focus statements. It's how we talk to ourselves and it's how we talk to others. It's how we're going to help each other stay focused on the outcome, on the target that we're trying to reach, right? And this is all made possible by our goal achievement strategies, which are specific strategies to help us achieve our process and performance goals, to help us overcome challenges, to help us reach our milestones, to help us reach our target outcomes. So how can we conceptualize this? How can we visualize this? Well, we can use our goal map in a way that helps us state our SMART goal, identify our stop, start, continue statements, and then map out what we need to do to be successful. And you can see here, the goal map has the purpose, milestones, several challenges, and you may have more than 3 challenges, and you're going to have more than 1 milestone, and then focus statements. Again, these are just short, quick little statements like you got this. These are instructional and motivational, right? So you can use statements that are going to help you with completing the task successfully or improving energy or effort or change your attitude to help you focus on achieving the goal. Now, with your goal achievement strategy, these are specific, and they need to have frequency, duration, and it needs to be timed. That's why you see that completion date. So when filling out something like this, it just really helps you conceptualize it. Research indicates that when you write down a goal, you're 80% more likely to achieve that goal than if you don't write it down. So it's important that we use a tool like this to help us identify, define, and set out strategies to help us reach our target outcomes. So continuing with the car analogy, so to speak, setting goals without developing corresponding goal achievement strategies is really like driving a car in an unfamiliar city and not consulting maps, especially now with global positioning devices and Google Maps or Waze or whatever you might use. So it's important, again, that we not only set the goals, but that we also have strategies that we can implement to make those goals be realized. Setting target outcomes, setting target conditions, identifying your pillars of success and your process goals, using key goal-setting strategies in line with goal-setting research is all great, but it really needs to be backed up by measuring it and assessing your progress. And you can do that first by showing you care. And by measuring and assessing goals regularly, it shows you care deeply about achieving this goal. Now, when you measure daily and weekly, you may not see the progress immediately, but over the course of time, reflecting back as you see performances improve or adherence to core values improve, those kind of things help you build that competence that you're able to achieve little goal, because every little goal that you achieve builds on that competence, builds on that intrinsic motivation. And by evaluating the process and performance goals, you can reinforce the pillars of success, and that will again lead to greater goal adherence and achievement. You need to be able to provide feedback and incentives for achieving milestone. If you've ever set your own goals, if you've never set, or if you rarely set an incentive for achieving it, sometimes you achieve the goal and you feel like a little bit let down, right? So we want to make sure that we have incentives for achieving these goals, because reinforcing positive behavior has been proven to raise effort, raise attitude, raise goal adherence and persistence through adversity. And that's really what we need to do. So praising effort and attitude on a regular is one key way to help individuals and teams stay on track, because those are things we're in control of. If we're only praising and reinforcing results, oftentimes we reinforce the wrong kinds of behavior. So this is all to be said so we learn and stay accountable to assess the progress and adjust the goals as needed. So as mentioned several times throughout this module, one of the key themes and key goals of any coach setting target outcomes is to cultivate intrinsic motivation. We do this by including the athletes on setting the target outcomes, on setting their process and performance goals, because we know that if they stick to their goals because they set them, not us, these are the self-determined goals, that will help build their self-efficacy. They will increase their perceived ability, and that improves their competence. And then by doing something where we are all working together as a community or as a team, it increases that feeling and that sense of belonging. And that sense of connectedness is by far and away one of the greatest motivating factors to persevering through adversity, through putting in effort, through having and maintaining a positive attitude through it all. It helps us with problem solving, helps us with feeling as though the experience was the best. And as we have learned through science of leadership, is that when we can provide the right environment and we have our behaviors lined up with the required behaviors and the preferred behaviors, that we will provide an opportunity to have high performance and high satisfaction. And that is the essence of setting target outcomes. So in conclusion, setting target outcomes comes down to a few things. You need to ask yourself, what do you want to accomplish? And then you need to start with a clear, compelling vision. You need to set your target outcomes and your target conditions so that way you can close the gap between what is currently happening and what your current thoughts are on what's possible to what would be possible if we put it all together, if all the stars aligned, and what would happen if we all put in effort, we all put in a great attitude, and we all try to improve and become 1% better every day. The last part of setting target outcomes is making sure that we hold ourselves accountable, that we measure, reflect, and adjust, that we're flexible with our outcome goal to the extent that if it needs to be changed, that we are in position to change it to something that is achievable by the entire group. Please review the student learning objectives for this module. Let me know if you have any questions. And thank you so much for your time, energy, and effort in completing this module today.